Okay, so video 5 starts off with learn some rules of small businesses in the United States. Small business has evolved a great deal in our country. We're going to just scratch the surface of that now. Some of you might want to do a little more research on this afterwards, who specifically have personal interest in history or government or policy. But for the time being, we're just going to look at it in a broader sense. This may surprise some of you to see what a significant role small business plays in our economy. Who was surprised by these first 2 bullet points? Who would have thought that 70% of most small businesses are run by one person? That's a lot of people who just said, hey, I'm going to start a business, and they did it, right? That means only 30%, less than a third, of the small businesses in this country have employees. So if you went out today and started your own business, you'd be right there with the vast majority of business owners, the 70%. Watch a short video from the History Channel on the evolution of small businesses in our country about the Industrial Revolution.
Before the Industrial Revolution, everything was produced by hand. But the Industrial Revolution changed all that. It took off in the late 18th century in England, when businessmen harnessed the power of rivers and streams to mechanize the textile industry. Suddenly, mills and factories were mass-producing textiles. The Industrial Revolution soon traveled beyond England. A young man named Samuel Slater decided to steal the technology by memorizing the plans for the mills. He then hopped on board a ship and brought the Industrial Revolution to America. Soon, factories were not just making textiles and clothing, but furniture and everyday items. By the end of the 19th century, Americans in greater and greater numbers began leaving their farms and moving into the cities where they worked in factories. America moved from being an agrarian society to being an industrial, urbanized society. The biggest innovation of the Industrial Revolution was the assembly line. A product would move down a mechanical conveyor belt where workers were lined up along the way. Each worker was responsible for adding a specific component to the process. This mass production created products much faster than ever before. This enabled prices to go down, but also made work incredibly monotonous, and in some cases, dangerous. The assembly line enabled factory owners to employ unskilled labor. So women and children and unskilled men would be brought in and easily fired or treated miserably. This led to a general decline in the conditions of the American working class. But workers did not take these conditions lying down. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, there were 10,000 strikes and riots against the capitalist class. This was also the same time when the rich got richer and built massive mansions to live like kings, while the poor lived in run-down tenements. It wasn't until the early 20th century, with what's called the Progressive Era, that government began to intervene to pass laws that rectified some of these harsh consequences of the Industrial Revolution.
So now you're going to take out the exercise titled 1-5, and we're going to look at the role of small businesses. So from watching the video, discuss ways in which American industry became more efficient, faster, or better. And then the second one on this one, we'll just do the first 2. What other revolutions have happened since then which have allowed us to become more efficient, faster, or better? Work on these 2 questions. We're going to watch another short video about small businesses, and then you will answer the 3rd question on that sheet. So you can pause the video now and work on those 3 questions, or you can wait and work on them all 3 at the same time. It's completely up to you. There is big small business change in Washington. President Obama announced the immediate elevation of the Small Business Administration chief to a cabinet-level post, and he wants Congress to give him the authority to consolidate 6 agencies and put them under one department.
As long as folks are looking for work and small businesses are looking for customers, I'm going to keep doing everything I can with my current authority to help.
Karen Mills heads up the SBA and joins us now. Administrator, I think first and foremost, congratulations are in order.
Thank you so much, JJ. It's an incredible honor to serve in the President's Cabinet. And I think it's really a reflection of the importance that this administration and the President have really put on small business really from day one.
Can you tell me effectively what is this change? Obviously, symbolically, it definitely means something, but are there things you'll be able to accomplish now that you wouldn't be able to have been able to do otherwise?
With this elevation and with the President's request to Congress for the ability to reorganize, what we want to do is take the next step and really make it easier for small businesses to navigate all across the federal government. Right now, we collaborate terrifically with many, many other agencies that do small business activities, but it should be as seamless and easy as possible for a small business. And I'm sure your viewers would agree that they want to open one door and be able to navigate to the answers that they need right now because they're busy and they don't have time to go to 5 different places. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, there's no doubt that people say they would like to sort of break through some red tape and make things easier. But it's interesting because the news from the President got some mixed reaction. As far as elevating the SBA in your post to the Cabinet, across the board, positive reaction. The idea of consolidating the 6 agencies got more of a mixed reaction. Some people saying if you start putting these agencies together, well, then small business may get lost in the mix of things.
If you run a business, you know that it's important to keep reorganizing and making sure that you are up to date. So we say, we've got a 20th century government structure and a 21st century set of problems and small business activities that we want to promote, and we need to be able to do that in a more coordinated way. So as we look forward, I don't want anybody to think small business will get second shot. Small business is really elevated, and I think that's the message that the President's trying to send.
And so that merging will take congressional approval, but your elevation has already happened. You are now part of the Cabinet. So tell me a little bit about your goals for 2012 for the SBA.
I encourage all of the small businesses out there to come to our website, sba.gov, and take a look and to find the kinds of things that we're doing, whether it's exports, whether it's help for manufacturing, whether it's some regional clusters. Those are the things that we are focused on. Manufacturing right now is really on a roll, and we at the SBA have a lot of experience in working on supply chains because we run the supply chain for the federal government in terms of small business, which is $100 billion. What we're trying to do now is look at lots of other manufacturers and see if we can bring jobs back to this country. We're working with big business to see if they would insource, bring back to the U.S. part of their supply chain.
Administrator, I'd love to keep in touch with you about this because we just did a piece recently about exactly that, about insourcing, and an expert came and told us sort of the inflection point will come in a few years when it doesn't make sense for a lot of companies to manufacture overseas anymore, that really it's becoming so expensive that a lot of people are bringing it back. So I'm interested to follow and see how you're helping small businesses do this, and we will keep in touch. And again, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last question on the exercise 5-1 and 5-6 handout is the role of small business today. From watching the video, does small business seem to be important in our country? Why or why not? So you're going to answer that question, and you should have all 3 of your questions answered and keep it in your binder. And then what we'll do is the next video you're going to watch is video module 1, video 6.